back. Well, Rod Stewart made the list, astronaut Tim Peake was on there too. But what about the countless unsung heroes who had their efforts recognised in the Queen's Birthday Honours list earlier this month? Well, at STV News, we love to hear your stories, so when we were contacted and told about two local women worthy of a special mention, we had to find out more. And it's a pleasure to welcome them to the studio now. Anna Campbell, who's just been awarded an MBE for her work with cancer patients, and Margaret McAuley, who as a long-serving head teacher has been instrumental in turning around the lives of hundreds of young girls in her care, and she receives a British Empire Medal. Welcome to you both, and first of all, massive congratulations. Now, first of all, you've known this for a while, you've been sworn to secrecy. When and how did you find out?
Well, I got a letter around about the end of April, and it looked very official, and when I opened it, it asked me if I would be wishing to get an MBE, so that was a real shock. And basically it says you have to keep it confidential until the actual Queen's birthday and you get the announcement. So it was a real shock, but it was something that I could not believe was happening. It was amazing.
And Margaret, a similar story for you?
Similar, 26th of April, I recall, and completely overwhelmed, humbled and very surprised, so much so I actually phoned Buckingham Palace to check and see whether or not someone was playing a joke. And unfortunately the gentleman I spoke to told me how wonderful I was, congratulated me, didn't give me a chance to give him a name, so when he hung up I was still no further forward.
And how hard was it to keep it confidential, Anna?
I am not very good at secrets, so it was really hard for me, but I got a real scare when it said you must not tell anybody apart from perhaps your work if they want to try and promote it. So I work at Edinburgh Napier, so I managed to tell the people there, but apart from that, I must admit I told my closest family, friends, and sworn to secrecy.
And Margaret, when did it start to sink in that this wasn't a mistake, this was actually happening?
Well, not until on the letter, as Anna said, it was in the strictest confidence, and it would go to press on the 10th of June at 10:30 at night. And so I went in to check the Gazette, found the Gazette, and my technophobe couldn't find the list, so I still didn't know. And it wasn't until I phoned Sharon Gibson, the girl who nominated me, that I did not know had nominated me, who often helps me with technical stuff. And she went hysterical on the phone because she didn't realise that I had actually received the award, because they don't get to hear officially the person who nominates you. And so I actually surprised her with telling her, which was great.
Now, we'll get onto your nomination shortly, but Anna, first of all, your work has transformed the lives of cancer patients. Tell me about what you've done.
Well, it was about 20 years ago when I decided to do a Masters in Sport and Exercise Science, because I'm not a sporty person, but I love keeping fit for the health reasons. And when I was looking for a project to do, a breast care nurse came up to me and said, you know, I tell all my patients when they're on treatment they should stay in bed, rest, don't do anything. Is there any evidence that actually being active would be good? So basically I thought, that's a good research project. I think I'll start looking at that. And that 16 years ago, there was nothing on that at all. So that's been my journey over the next 16 years, was to really look at the research and actually find out of all the benefits, and there are huge benefits of it being active after a cancer diagnosis, so that's what I've been working on.
And you touched a little bit on it there, so why are you so passionate about this area in particular?
Well, the reason is there is three main areas why physical activity is really important after a cancer diagnosis. If you have cancer, and even before treatment or during treatment, the deconditioning that you can get and the psychological stress, there's lots of evidence that shows that being active will reduce that quite a lot.
Absolutely.
Then there's a lot of side effects of treatment: tiredness, depression, problems with your bones and joints. Lots of research now shows that actually it will reduce that. And even when you're finished treatment now, the long-term benefits of getting back to normal, being in control in some way, even potentially reducing the risk of the cancer coming back, there's great evidence showing that. So physically and psychologically, I am passionate about the benefits and really getting that message out there.
And Margaret, you've had a long teaching career. Tell me about that.
I started in the Good Shepherd Centre in Bishopton in 1976, and in those days it was known as LSD school, and I was the youngest teacher to ever have been employed straight from teacher training, which was very unusual, and spent my entire career there working with very vulnerable young women often had faced many, many challenges in their life, educationally, socially, psychologically, many hurdles, and had faced many abuse issues. And because of, I think, the type of upbringing I had and the home that I came from, I wanted to try and transfer some of that into my work with these young girls. My dad had been severely dyslexic at school and it hadn't been recognised. And his name's Joe Sweeney. And when I grew up and realised that, when I became a teacher, I decided that no child that ever came in contact with me would ever be disadvantaged in any way if I could do anything to improve the quality of their education and indeed the quality of their lives.
And it was a former pupil who nominated you. Yes. How did you feel when you realised that that's what had happened?
Well, flabbergasting, because you know, Sharon was a pupil well over 20 years ago, and while I was aware that I helped her greatly while she was with me in school, often in our line of work you don't realise the impact you have on your pupils, because they leave you, and a lot of them you're never sure what becomes of them later on in life. And in actual fact, one of my colleagues who was a care manager, Margaret, she had stayed in touch with Sharon, and I was flabbergasted when we were invited, I think about 3.5 years ago, to be VIPs at her graduation as a law student, which was wonderful to realise that she had overcome the hurdles to become a lawyer. She then needed further funding to complete her course, £15,000, which was a huge amount of money. And in speaking to friends, a reporter found the story, and it went into the Daily Mail, and through that happening we got Sharon the £15,000.
And Anna, you're still involved in work around, you know, cancer survival rates. What's next for you?
Well, there are three things. I basically, when I have a plan, I like to see things developing, and there's three things I'm really keen and quite wanted to develop. One is, I'm just back from, believe it or not, Lanzarote with 54 cancer survivors, a sports and training camp. Now, they're all Danish, but I want to do the same for Scottish cancer survivors, because the benefits and the confidence that these people got. So I've set up a thing called Can Rehab Trust, where I'm going to try and get anybody who's interested to come along to this. So anybody who's interested in actually funding it or supporting it. That's number one. The second thing is at Edinburgh and AP University. I want to make that as a centre of excellence, so that anybody who's interested in research, teaching, or actually we've got programmes running there can come along. And third, and it's probably the hardest, is I believe that anybody going through cancer treatment, part of their standard care should be that they get physical activity. It shouldn't be just a wee add-on or a possibility. And that's the key thing I want there, is that everybody has an opportunity to do what's right for them, individualised exercise programmes.
And Margaret, briefly, yourself, what's next?
Just to continue doing the voluntary work. I'm still in touch with dozens and dozens of girls from 20 odd years ago. They've set up a Good Shepherd forum. There's over 280 girls still on it, and I'm doing work with cancer research, raising funds, and some work with the homeless. So just to continue doing the charity work as best I can.
Well, Margaret and Anna, thank you so much for coming into the studio to tell us about your awards. And again, massive congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now remember, you can get in touch with us here at STV News if there's a story you think we should know about, or an issue